The Madurai Mission from 1606 to 1623. The Jesuit mission that St. Francis Xavier established in India took up with enthusiasm the work of conversion. But the progress was slow till Robert de Nobly, a brilliant, gifted, highly educated, and jealous man, came to be in charge of the mission in Madurai in Tamil Nadu. In 1606, Robert de Nobly arrived in Madurai. De Nobly, a man of remarkable insight, who came with desire to convert as many Hindus as possible to Christianity. After a short experience of life in Madurai, reached the conclusion that Christianity would have little success in India if it kept to its Western grab and refused to understand the mind and thought of the people of the country. The problem before him was to make Christianity acceptable to Hindus without being imposed on them. He received the answer from St. Paul, who said that while preaching, one has to get naturalized in the culture of the community for whom the message is meant. De Nobly obtained the approval of the Jesuit mission to undertake a serious study of Hinduism, and Madurai was specially suited for this purpose. Closely following the social habits of Brahmins, Nobly was able to obtain assistance from learned Pandits in his study of Hindu religious thought. In November 1607, he left the old Madurai mission house, where Fernandez stayed, and went to live in a house which was offered to him by one of his Hindu admirers. His first conversion, high caste Hindu man, led the conversions of several people of the Nayak caste. Nobly was very much concerned about the language of the people. He wanted to present Christianity to Indians in their own language. His achievements are to be seen in his understanding and adaptation of Hindu customs and ceremonies, in his pioneering study of Sanskrit and Tamil, and in his initial of essential task of evolving a Christian theological vocabulary for Indian languages. Nobly began to learn that Indian society was divided into a number of rigidly structured groupings called caste system. He understood that naturally the Hindus began to see Christianity as the religions of the Portuguese or Portuguese, and rejected outright any possibility of conversions due to its inevitable consequence, the loss of caste. He then adopted a variety of indigenous forms of the Indian culture in order to create a culturally relevant or contextualized expression of Christianity. His method of evangelism. Nobly observed the weakness of the Catholic mission and sought for the need of new method for missionary outreach. He realized that the Brahmins could be evangelized only by the way of identification with their culture and lifestyle. As a result, he cut himself off from the rest of the Portuguese missionaries, studied the Brahmin culture, their prejudice, the way they had in the society, and to give up some of his cultural habits and adopt their, unless they were obviously idolatrous. In order to identify himself with the Brahmins, Nobly becomes a sannyasi guru, a priest and a teacher who renounces the luxuries of material world and adopted ascetic way of life. Nobly dressed like a Brahmin, wearing wooden sandals or paste sacred thread with cross and discussed with the Brahmin religion and philosophy, studied Vedic hymns and texts and practiced meditation and ceremonial bathing, of which he was well respected and received by the Brahmins in Madurai. His dress, his food and ceremonial observances made him like a Brahmin and unlike the Portuguese. His method was not hypocrisy, rather a legitimate missionary method. He was perfect in performing social customs too. In 1606, he made a 4-point program as his missionary strategies. The first one is, the missionary should openly declare that he is not born of Parangis caste. His disciples or converts do not necessarily lose their caste and degenerate into Parangis. Second, he should profess to be first a noble of highest rank. Third, he should renounce the Portuguese mode of life and adopt the manner of life of the high caste, Brahmins and Rajas. He should permit himself not to contact with any low caste person except that which is allowed by the law and usage of the Brahmins and Sannyasis. And the fourth one is, he should have a house and a church at a distance from those Parangis and the Paravas Christians and avoid social communication. Nobly made use of his noble birth so as to become acceptable to Brahmins and other dominant groups. The Protestant mission. It is true that the Protestant mission in the 19th century, like the Roman Catholic mission in the 16th century, largely followed the colonial flag. Colonialism and the Christian mission went hand in hand since the arrival of the Portuguese in India. The extent and the nature of the relationship between the missions and colonialism varied from one colonial power to another. Nevertheless, there was an alliance, and for many in India during this period, that Christianity was a Western religion and a means used by the Western powers to establish their political control. And missionary enterprise was interwoven with the commerce and cultural imperialism. The attitude and the feelings of the educated Indians towards Christian missions are reflected in the following statement of the great social reformer Raja Ram Mohan Roy. In Bengal, where the English are rulers and where the mere name of Englishman is sufficient to frighten people, an encroachment upon the rights of the poor cannot be viewed in the eyes of God or the public as a justifiable act. Most of the missionaries and some historians of 18th and 19th century missions believe that British rule in India was an opportunity provided by God to lift India from ignorance about God and superstitions. In European missions histories, the colonized were termed as barbarous, savages, pagan, and superstitious. Hence, the mission goal was not only Christianizing Athens but also civilizing them under superior European culture and evangelical spirituality. Further, the missionary work in 18th to 19th century, India was grounded in the binary distinctions of European and Indian. white and brown, civilized and primitive, and Christian and pagan. The binary division gave the colonizers grounds for justifying the European project of colonization of India and proselytizing of the Indians. William Wilberforce, leader of evangelical group in the House of Commons, said in 1793 that the Indian natives were idolatrous and superstitious with a feeble knowledge of God. The people themselves were barbarous and low measure in the scale of European civilization. The natives must be taught a better religion at a time and in a manner that will not inspire them with passion for political change. Hence, the British, the patrons of the Christianizing scheme, had a simple goal for raising the people to higher and superior culture. It was the hope of the colonizer that if the higher classes in the Hindu social order were converted, it would eventually lead to the desolation of Hindu culture. The first Protestant mission. The first Protestant mission to India came from Denmark. King Patrick IV was an ardent follower of the Lutheran teachings. He believed that it is one of the duties devolving upon monarchs to make provision for Christianizing their non-Christian subjects. A mission was founded in the Danish settlement of Tranquebar in South India. The first Protestant missionaries to arrive on Indian soil were two German missionaries, Zengelbach and Pluscha, sent by the king. They landed on July 9, 1706 in Tranquebar, a Danish trade post. Julius Richter says that this marked the birthday of Protestant missions in India, since the Danish trade post never crossed boundary of Tamil kingdom. Their missionary work was confined mainly to Tamil Nadu region. The Protestant missionary work gained momentum only after the arrival of the expansion of Anglican power.